Good morning, GMG. And Monday, July 1st, 2020. I'm all red. Look at that. Another beautiful day to have a beautiful day. Another beautiful week to have a beautiful week. Another beautiful month to have a beautiful month. Well, another beautiful quarter to have a beautiful quarter. Oh man, I feel the magic in the air. I got my co-host in the house, Tyler. Wow, I missed your ass. How you doing this morning? Good morning.
We missed you too. And my Farouk impressions do not do you justice. The energy that you brought this morning. We are so back. Excited to have you. My weekend, probably less exciting than Ibiza. We hung out in Indianapolis, the heart of the Midwest, with the grandma. But fun summer weekend with the fam, and excited to get back in. There's a lot going on.
So much, yeah, dude. My weekend was terrible. I was recovering from a weekend in Ibiza.
I believe you.
Let me tell you something. Completely checking out of work for the first time. Like usually we travel, I think maybe one day here and there, 12 hours here and there during a trip. This time I completely checked out for the week. No show, no emails, didn't answer anything, no WhatsApp, I didn't answer anyone, nothing. Cold turkey on my work. It was so weird, but it felt so good.
I think that's necessary.
I got a good tan on too. I got some color, and it was my last trip before probably, I think the end of August. So it felt good. It was necessary. Back home on 4th of July. We're in Switzerland now. Getting some air, fresh lake air, and chilling and getting back at the desk. It feels very, very nice. But I would definitely recommend Ibiza to anyone who's never been. It was my first time. You ever been, Tyler?
No, I did 9 months in Madrid, and I went around a bit of Europe, but I never made it to Ibiza. So we'll have to catch up. I'm very curious what the scene is like.
Dude, it's a lot. It's a lot. I did not know I had it in me. I mean, there's only one person on this entire planet that can take this out of me. It's Danny, Siege Phrase. This MFer is the only person in the world that could take me out 4 nights in a row. Or 5 nights in a row, was it? Four nights in a row. It was a lot. It was a lot, but it was definitely a lot of fun. Definitely came down with a little cold on the back of it, but we're getting there. We're definitely getting there. We'll be fully back, in a day or two, most probably. Anyways, listen, Mando may or may not join us. I know he had a little personal thing to deal with, but he'll probably be on a little later. Today on the show, today. Obviously, we'll go through the market real quick. We got Tyler's top 100. I know he's got some stuff to talk about. And then last but not least, we'll be joined by Luca Netz. I mean, Luca Netz, again, has some big announcements going back to back. Abstract chain, consumer crypto, L2s. We'll talk about the whole fucking thing with Luca. He did a podcast recently that had a lot of people talking, the good and the bad. So excited to be able to dive in with him and chat. So he'll be joining us, towards in the next 20 minutes to discuss all things. And we're going to go deep about things. Like we got a lot of questions for him, and we'll go over all that. But anyways, why don't we get started with this market report? I can't play the Mando jingle because we don't have Mando. But I mean, Tyler, listen, I've been tapped out. I'm now just tapping back in. I'm back at my desk. I'm finally back at looking at prices. Looks pretty similar to me. Every other day I would read the timeline. One day people were ultra bearish, calling for 40K. And that's the one thing when you tune out, right, Tyler, is you notice how we are a little too intense, right? Mm-hmm. One day everyone's down bad. One day everyone's up a lot, right? But to come back, Bitcoin 62.7. ETH is 34.60. Solana's 147. The meme coins are all going absolutely crazy. I mean, tell me, where are we at market-wise?
Yeah, the majors are basically even, right? So we're seeing some green on the weekend, which is nice to start the week. So Bitcoin's up 2% on the day, 62,730. It's up basically 2% on the week. ETH, similar, up 4%. Solana, the leader, though, up 13%. So this was Solana's week. I think that's one of the big stories. So we got the Solana ETF news last week that Van Eck had filed. I believe 21 shares is now filed as well. So that's given some life to Sol. It's outperforming. Some of the Solana memes have rebounded in kind as well. So I think we saw WIF back over 220 here this morning. some memes downstream moving as well. The death of meme coins seems to have been overstated. Like, I mean, MOG is the other big headline. 720 million. I saw that this morning, another all-time high. That token is not slowing down. So that sector looks strong. I think one headline that I saw from Milk Road, that historically, whenever crypto closes June red, it is usually green in July. So we might have missed some of your price targets for June, Farouk, but maybe we'll see.
Hey! I didn't share them, so I didn't share them publicly, so I think we're good. You know what? Here's my price targets for July. I'm gonna copy paste my June ones. I was just 1 month off.
Yeah, very fair. So we might get there. NFTs are back too, across chains. So we saw, we've got Luca on with us. So like Pudgy's leading the charge on ETH. Both Pudgy's and Bored Apes back over 10 ETH as after the Blast airdrop, and farming seems to have slowed down quite a bit. It looks like some organic buying on the board. It's happening on Bitcoin as well. Node Monkeys and Puppets rebounding. We're seeing it on Solana. Solana had massive volume over this weekend. Mad Lad saw $1 million sweep. Those things are back over 100 SOL. They were down in the 60s. So multiple.
Do we know who swept?
I have not dug into who that was.
Okay. Because I saw that person also owned 200 Tensorians or something. Like it was some absurd number of Tensorians. But that's good to see. Back to 100 SOL. What is that? 2x from the lows?
Just about. I mean, look at the 7-day change on that board. Like these are, we haven't seen numbers like this, in quite some time. 50% on majors, 30 to 50% basically across the board. So it's a very strong week. I guess we just want to keep running through some of the catch up in the headlines. So we thought we got past the SEC, that they came back Friday. They're launching new suits against Consensus, Lido, and Rocket Pool, in a sign that Gary Gensler is not slowing down. We saw this 40-year ruling overturned. It should be positive for startups, including crypto startups. Maybe we'll get into that in a minute. This morning, we saw Sony launch a crypto exchange in Japan. Pretty big news. Roaring Kitty's back. He just closed this Chewy position. He's got 9 million tokens. The stock briefly soared. The tokens briefly soared. They're all falling back to earth now. It was a big weekend at Polyfi. It wasn't the majors as much, like the Trumps and Trimps of the world or the Bowdens. It was the dim nominee tokens. So the headline is, if you missed the debate, Biden did a pretty god-awful job, sadly showing signs of dementia. And now there's real talk that he's going to drop out. We saw his odds of dropping out of the election soar up to 50% this weekend. They're back down to 38%, but that's led to folks speculating on who the Dems going to put up. So that's going to be an ongoing headline to watch here in the near future. And then over in the Blast streets, we saw the first signs of governance in the Blast ecosystem. They launched their first Progress Council proposal. So there's going to be 2 councils, the Token Council and this Progress Council, to keep everyone moving and to try to execute faster. And they've got a proposal on the board to enable points here for this next season. And market responded a bit. I think we saw a bit of an uptick in that. I saw it around 2.15 billion FTV here this morning, up a touch off the bottom. So that's the quick roundup of all the headlines that we saw. We can dig in.
Damn, Jesus. There's a lot of headlines. I mean, one event that I really liked this morning was Sony. So let's talk about that one. So Sony, I as a company I always liked. I don't know why. Maybe it's because growing up we had a Sony TV, but I was always I love Sony products. Our cameras are all Sony's. A lot of our tools that we use day to day are Sony as a company. So Sony is getting crypto, launching an exchange. This is so great. So is it only launching in Japan? Is that what's going on?
So they're restarting this crypto exchange Whalefin, which it was bought from the Amber Group last year. It seems like they plan to restart it here soon with a new app. I don't know all the details about geographies and where this will be live. This is not the only thing that Sony has done. I think they have made some investments in other areas of Web3. I think there's already speculation on like, what does this mean for gaming, or are they going to, dive into that next? One of the stories I read saw this is more of just of a diversification play, but I mean, I'm with you. Like Sony is just such a big household name of a company. Like seeing them enter into the space and line up with an exchange, it just feels like a big deal. So I'm sure we'll learn more as more details come out on this one.
Sounds like we need a Sony partnership. These are Sony too. There you go. Hey, Sony, if you're in here, slide into our DMs. I mean, or the other way around. but
Yes.
Probably gonna have to be the other way around. But would love to get something going. But I just thought that was a fun headline. You know what I mean? Like in the realm of like getting people to adopt like crypto and Bitcoin, etc. Like even like boomers or people that don't necessarily like believe in Bitcoin itself. Like I just think that it's super awesome. And yeah, like someone's pointing out, like the movie studio that they have, the music catalog that they have is immense, right? So I don't know how deep they want to go to integrating Bitcoin, but I think it was like, to me, it's like the level of news that like when Robinhood like acquired Bitstamp, like these big companies are like acquiring company in order to launch. Like it's very similar, right? Like Robinhood acquired Bitstamp to have their own exchange focused on just crypto. Sony here is diversifying and acquiring Amber Group, right, which is a crypto exchange, to launch their own exchange as well. So I just thought that was really cool. Of a headline when I woke up. It's the first thing I saw when I woke up this morning. Anyways, another one that I thought was interesting, and I know that you like that one, Roaring Kitty, Chewy. I mean, he is not a cat. Did you see the paperwork that stated that he had to check that he's not a cat?
That was ridiculous. I didn't know if that was, like, I saw it on the SEC's forum website, and at first I just thought it was a joke, but apparently it is real.
It's real.
Check the appropriate box to designate whether you are a cat. And he checked I'm not a cat. So that's good that we know that. Down the form, if you scroll, it shows that he has 9,001,000 shares of this Chewy stock, which did briefly send it up about 20% pre-market. I think the gains are already all down. Let's refresh this. Yeah, so it's opening red. So now it's down 4%. So the Roaring Kitty pump is turning into the Roaring Kitty dump here. Sadly, similar in the meme coin street. So there's a few Chewy tokens on Solana. A few of them hit like 6-7 million, maybe higher at peak, and they're starting to retrace here this morning as well. Perhaps because what's going on, the backdrop for all this is that he's being sued in a new class action lawsuit for securities fraud for his role in the GameStop saga. It's saying he commits securities fraud by manipulating the stock for his actions between May 12th and June 13th of this year, saying he misled investors and effectively got them to buy in at artificially high prices. So he's not out of the woods, but by any means.
Yeah.
This is a class action suit, so it's not one that's brought from like a regulatory body or anything. So a little bit different. But
what do you do? What do you do though? Like, what do you think about that, right? Like, of course, like, I get it, but what do you do? He tweeted, like, it's like, you have, I think Davis from, Base Carbon made a very good point. He said, wait, let me get you that tweet. Actually, I'm curious of your thoughts on what he wrote here. He said something on the line. He said, the game is rigged. He said, analysts are allowed to release price targets and ratings. This process is very fucked up and corrupt, by the way, but you're not allowed to tweet. Government can go after anyone. They have all the dirt on everyone. It's just about what they want, who they want to go after. I mean, what do you think about that? I feel like, what do you do? He tweeted.
Yeah, I don't really know what he did wrong in all this. I mean, it seems like he had the lawyers with him. Like even during the live stream, it seemed like he was like checking in live with counsel in that room. So I think he was careful of what he was doing, but I mean that argument, yeah, you see all the hedge funds releasing their price targets. I don't think he even did that, right? He basically was just talking about why he likes the stock. I don't know that he even mentioned like we're going to send this thing to $100 or something along those lines. So I'm not sure if this one has merit. If it does, then I guess there's going to be a huge crackdown on anyone talking about stock or token on their accounts. I guess I don't know how there couldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see if how far this goes, but it feels a little weird. Speaking of the SEC, obviously going after Rory Kitty, all the fun stuff. I mean, look at them try and go after everybody. I mean, I know when did this lawsuit drop? Was it Friday? I remember it was still in Spain,
Friday.
but it was Friday. But it was after you guys had hosted. I think it was in the afternoon.
Like Friday afternoon. It's like we just can't get into the weekend without these headlines.
I remember seeing that. It's like late afternoon for us, and I'm seeing them complete. Like it's like an attack on Ethereum's ecosystem, right? It's like, hey, we'll sue like MetaMask for being like a seller of securities. We'll attack like this and that. But the same day, you had this huge Chevron. It was Chevron ruling, right? They pretty much said that. And then somebody I saw. You know what? The best tweet I saw from that, Tyler, was from Keith Grossman. That he shared the whole of all the rulings and all this positive stuff that happened on our end, like on our side of the spectrum for crypto. Meanwhile, the SEC again is trying to do a huge attack on crypto with stuff that made no sense, right? So first of all, he said, U.S. Supreme Court overturned the Chevron deference doctrine. This will essentially limit the federal government's ability to regulate business and instead turn this over to the judicial system. Then you had all these different threads about how, basically there was somebody else that said that, hey, just because a token may start as a security doesn't mean that it doesn't evolve as something that is not, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought that was super interesting. But what do you make of all of this? I thought it was just a big attack on Ethereum, but almost felt like a last cry, like a Hail Mary. Like he's on his last leg. He's like, all right, I got to throw it somewhere.
That was my initial reaction as well. Like they're going out swinging. Like it seems like, I mean, the Biden administration is struggling. Like we see it in the polls. We see it in the prediction markets. I think he's down to 18%. It feels like Gensler, Warren are behind this. They're tied to the Biden admin. It feels like kind of a last ditch effort. What's interesting about it is, one, we just got the news that they had dropped the suit against Consensus just a few days before this, which made it that aspect surprising. And then the fact that it came just a few hours before this 40-year-old Chevron ruling was overturned, which basically, without going into super depth, that ruling previously, these regulatory agencies had been empowered to interpret laws and enforce them against businesses without any oversight. And now that has been stripped away from them. This ruling basically says, no, you can't interpret the laws however you want. You have to stick to the reality. And now the justice system is involved. So many are calling that arguably the biggest headline from the week. And it should be a huge boom for startups across various sectors. Crypto being included in that. So I feel like the bullish news continues to pile in, supporting the crypto sector, and it just seems like Gensler and crew just continue to try to fight, but it feels like their cases are just getting weaker and weaker.
You know what I love? What I love about all this is how Ethereum was down like 0.6% on the news, and is probably back up to the same price, if not higher, than on Friday.
Yeah, we're just not reacting to the FUD headlines. I feel like earlier in the cycle, this would have moved us down much more. And now it's just not. The ETFs, we're not going to get the ETFs this week, it looks like. So they did send the forms back, but they're coming soon. Right. I still think July is very live for the ETH ETF.
Yeah. I read something about how they have until July 8th to finalize the paperwork for the S1s. So it's looking like it'll be live a little later, but at least we're not talking about September. Like the talk is, paperwork until July 8th, but we're looking like we're going to be live soon. I saw a post from Nate Jarossi this morning saying that he said that he believes that ETH ETF can be the second largest one in terms of volume, and the first one being Bitcoin. So I actually agree with him. I know what you think about that, but I think people are underestimating the power of the demand that there is out there and the appetite for cryptocurrency, especially when you have Larry Fink and everybody talking about tokenization of things, and Ethereum essentially being kind of like the chain where you can tokenize all things.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think the volume is going to be there. At what percent of the Bitcoin volume is it going to come in? I think I've seen like the 20% number thrown around. That seems logical to me. Like I don't think it's going to match. I think the other aspect of this is like the volume number kind of, you have to throw it out because of all like the delta neutral trade strategies that's been unlocked. So that makes it a little bit more complicated. But volume is going to be pouring in. It's hard to imagine this is anything but bullish for ETH and potential ETH betas, which I know folks are already starting to look after. So July teed up to be a big month.
Oh, it's gonna be a big month, baby. It's gonna be a big. I'm excited about July. July's gonna be good, especially with that stat you said. When June closes red, July opens red. Agreed. Sorry. So that's gonna be a good one. Excited for that. For sure. Are we gonna get Trump speaking at Bitcoin Nashville in July or not?
It was a little bit of a letdown. I think we'd all hyped ourselves up to see crypto discussed in the debate last week. It wasn't mentioned.
They talked about golf more. They talked about childcare, dude.
It's not like they would answer the question. Anyway. I think that the childcare question, they just argued with each other the whole time instead of answering the question anyways. But yeah, I still think I think it's very possible that we'll see him in that event. Like that event is now perhaps like the highlight here at the end of this month. Yeah, it's the end of June.
Yes,
July.
I think it's July 25th or something. Something along those lines. Great conference, by the way. Nashville is a great city. If I had me to travel after this, probably go there. But we'll probably gonna have some reporters or people out there for sure. You should head out there. Nashville is fun, dude.
It's fun. Yeah, I have some friends down there. I go down a decent amount. It's like the Vegas of the Midwest these days. It's like you go down there 2 to 3 nights. That's enough.
Yeah, it's like wait, isn't Nashville home of Hawk Tour?
It is. I believe it is. Yes.
Yeah, dude. There's like a living legend over it. Like she should speak at Bitcoin Nashville.
She was on stage with a country.
I saw that.
Yeah, she's not going down
on Barstool Sports and everything. You know, if anything, she should be speaking at the Bitcoin conference. Someone get David Bailey on the line so we could get the Hawk Tour girl at BTC Nashville. Okay.
You have to launch a room first.
Yeah, fuck me, dude. Speaking of that, I the only thing I'm too scared to check is the price of roots. I must say, I looked at this morning. I took the time, caught up on all my work, all my emails, absolutely everything, all my positions. The only thing I haven't looked at is runes. How are runes doing?
They're all right. So like Dog is the leader. It's at 620 million. So I mean, it's down from all time high, but it still it feels like it's consolidating. Puppets at 85 million. So those things got as low as 6. So they're at least up off the bottom. I think the RSIC basically is continuing a slow bleed. We need to hear something from that team, or else it's going to continue this course. There's a couple new movers, like this $1 billion cat token. It seems to be one of the new winners. It's up at 50 million. So they're hanging in there. Is how I describe it. No explosive action, but they're not doing too bad. And I feel like similar with the ordinals, right? So like we're up off the bottom, like we pulled back a little bit here, but consolidating, perhaps ahead of a move up. We'll take it. It's better than red every single day.
Okay, listen. Last week I checked price on pups every day, even on the bounces on the majors. It kept going down, and I was like, dude, what is going on here? I believed in you. I held on my bag the entire time since the airdrop. And now it's back up to 87 mil. I'll take it. Pops to 13 billion. That's the prophecy. I will definitely be selling way before $13 billion here, everybody. Don't worry. But, that's the prophecy I was told. Anyways, look, I think we've gone around the block pretty well. We've talked about everything and anything. We have Luca Netz on stage. Luca, are you joining us on video? Because I sent you the StreamYard, but I don't know if you rather just stick to audio.
I was going to do video when you me, but then I'm kind of in my backyard doing my thing. So if you don't mind, I'd like to stay on audio if that's cool with you.
Yeah. It's up to you. It's just for the clips that we like the video and stuff like that. But definitely happy to stick to audio if you're doing your thing. How's your backyard? Is it hot out? What's the weather like out there?
It's like 80 degrees, but man, you're talking about clips. So you've got me. You've got my little marketing antennas. You just got the.
Listen,
I'm like, if I'm doing this, I might as well get the clips out of it.
You're gonna get a lot of it, not just one. You're gonna get a lot of it. You still got time to go inside.
Oh man,
I got him. We got him. Get your ass inside, Luca Netz. Get your ass inside, Luca Netz. Get your ass inside. All right. In the meantime, let's wait for for Luca to join us. See, we got him. We got him, ladies and gentlemen. Hefner said, dude is gardening. Everybody, why don't you write in the comments what you think Luca Netz is doing in his backyard? And why don't you drop a little retweet while you're at it? We're live on YouTube. Fomo Hour, Reworking YouTube. We're live, all of us on broadcast. We posted the video broadcast on Tyler's page, Fomo Hour's page, and myself. While we're at it, may as well tell the people, we had a little rebranding of Fomo Hour, which you may have noticed. This is our final rebranding. Okay, we're done rebranding. But we just felt like it needed a little something, a little more, right? And that green color of money, July gonna be green. So no, we had to get a different feel to it, something that felt refreshing. And so because speaking of July, speaking of Q3, we got some big fucking things ahead. So definitely pay attention to what's coming up on our side of the pond here. And let me see. So someone said, okay, he is gardening. Someone said Luca is drinking a beer. I don't think it doesn't strike me as a beer guy. Practicing cornhole. Someone said he's waddling in Penguin. What else? What do you guys think Luca is doing in his backyard? I think he's tanning and taking spaces all day. That's what I think he's doing. I think he's just like on the phone doing Twitter spaces all day long, and just like, is that me? Doing Twitter spaces all day long, and someone's phone. Is that can't be me, right? I hear a phone. No. Okay. Anyways, give it a second. Someone said he walks back and forth. What's PP saying? It's so funny. He walks back and forth. That's his go-to. Yeah, I know. I until we had the whole show set up, like sitting down, I used to do it. I know once I did 10,000 steps in one show.
Wow.
Yeah, shit's crazy. And there he is, the man, the myth himself. Yeah. What's up, Luca? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
We're vibing, dude. We're vibing. We're back at work. We're back at the desk. We're back at the show after a little bit of time off. But we're here. We're chilling, and definitely get back to your news. So love to see that.
I appreciate it. And no beer. I don't drink alcohol. I actually love pacing in the backyard. There's like a scientific thing if those of you are not familiar, but feet on earth is energizing, believe it or not, scientifically proven. So going in the grass, pacing back and forth gets the chatterbox going.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Yeah, it's called earthing, I think. That's what they call it. Know a lot of people that are big into that and walking barefoot. But anyways, Tyler, I'm actually going to kick it to you because, look, we can prevent some questions for you. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. Can't wait to go back and forth. I saw your last interview. A lot of thoughts and opinions on the timeline about some clips that you posted. So, Tyler, let me kick it to you, and let's get this going.
Yeah, I think we buried arguably the biggest headline of this past weekend, and that's the Pudgy Penguin parent company, Igloo, has acquired Frame to build out an L2 called Abstract. It's going to be an abstract chain meant for, I'm quoting here, consumer crypto, pioneering culture, community, and creativity on chain. So it's blockbuster news. We've already seen the markets respond. Instead of guessing what this means, we just want to find out here firsthand. I think my first question for you here, Luca, is like, when did this light bulb go off? Like, when did you know you wanted to build an L2? And then the second part of the question, why?
I think sometime in November, we realized that we needed to be able to make tweaks to the actual infrastructure in which some of our products were living. The elephant in the room, though, is like we didn't want to embark on this journey, ourselves. To be frank, you don't want me building a blockchain by myself. I don't think that would be the best use of our talents. Ultimately, it came down to a dinner that I had with Saigar sometime shortly after, in which we kind of just had the discussion where it was like, look, these guys are technical builders. They build blockchains and products on chain with the best of them. And we build community culture and know how to find distribution and product market fit in a way that I think is hyper unique. And so if you take the two sides of the pendulum and what they're really good at and what we're really good at, it seemed like a match made in heaven. And ultimately, I had to have a lot of discussions internally with the team It's really important for us that when we made this decision, we were confident that we weren't just going to be another L2, amongst all the other L2s, but that we were going to build this in the same cadence that we built Pudgy Penguins, which is, we bought Pudgy Penguins because we believe we could be the #1 NFT project in the world. And we're building Abstract because we believe we can be the #1 L2 in the world. And so the thesis had to remain true. We feel like up until this point, we've shown we've proven ourselves to the greater Web3 and crypto landscape that we know how to build community, we know how to build culture, and we know how to bring eyeballs to the products that we're building, both within the crypto sphere and outside of it. And, pairing that with Sigar and their technical expertise and their ability to, not only, build amazing technical products, but also to speak to a lot of those builders, I think really put us in a position where this made sense. And so ultimately it was always at some point in the roadmap, something that we were going to do. It just happened to have this universal alignment where we kind of crossed paths in the midst of us and our frustrations with what we were dealing with, as well as, his frustrations with what he was dealing with. And so we felt like we really complemented each other in a really meaningful way. And here we are today.
It's great. I want to come back to what you mentioned about wanting to become the biggest L2 here later on, because I want to know more about what that means. But perhaps let's dive into consumer crypto a little bit. I think that's the big part of the headline that is attracting folks, gathering speculation. So what does it mean? So like, what does consumer crypto mean to you, and how does Abstract help?
Yeah, I think from a consumer crypto perspective, I think this is something that Pudgy Penguins at its core has been the face of, or been one of the faces of, over the last couple of years. It's this concept of, consumers coming on chain, not based on the idea of making money or losing money, but using blockchain because it's a better value proposition than current Web2 products that they're using today. And so I think there's this like a core problem that whether we like it or not, crypto by nature is hyper financialized, but for every million people that come into the space, about 950,000 people end up losing and not wanting to come back. And then about 50,000 stay and then, participate in the cycles, to come. If you're looking at it from like a 1 million per 1 million person basis. And ultimately, like, that is a handicap, I think, in terms of the growth of where I think crypto can go. I actually believe blockchain solves problems that are a lot greater than, the idea of, becoming financially independent by either trading or gambling on chain through this borderless economy that is super lucrative and fun to use. But I actually think if that remains the case, then we're going to put a ceiling onto how far I think a lot of this stuff can go. And so what I mean by that is, the TAM for financial freedom amongst people in the world and the ability and the desire to gamble is probably 10 to 15 trillion. But the idea of blockchain powering economies and being the future of economies is 100 to 150 trillion. The difference is, to power economies and to be an economy, you need users and you need people using it for reasons that I think are bigger than just price going up and price going down. And this is really where I think the new era of crypto has we've kind of entered here. You have about, I think, 5 to 6 to 7 years to create products that are powering, real things that are not predicated on the hyper financialization of tokenization. And that is going to be predicated on who is going to be able to open up the doors to what I call consumer crypto, which is blockchain powering the back end, not the front end. It is not the value proposition or the reason why people are coming. It's just a better use and way for people to build that unlocks a slew of different pros that building, in a centralized Web2 manner simply doesn't have. And so I think for us, this consumer crypto revolution is how do you bring people on chain and how do you bring them on the right way? And how do you create an ecosystem that is bigger than I think what the current narrative is today, which is, PvP, I make money, you lose money, and somebody's at the other end of the stick. And that's what I think the chapter that we have to enter here for us to all, create an industry that I think has endless upside for years to come. I mean, there'll always be opportunity. I think that will never leave, just the nature of this space and the nature of the mechanisms that kind of present itself. But we got to think bigger. We got to want more than what we currently have. And that, I think, starts and stops with our ability to bring consumers on chain.
Do you think that, just on that real quick, do you think that by making your own L2, because of course that's the first criticism that you face when you announce your L2, right? Like, do you think by fragmenting that into your own L2, is the way to build what you're talking about? Like, what do you make of that criticism that people have kind of thrown around the timeline?
Yeah, I think it's fragmentation if you lose, right? But if you win, it's not
Right.
fragmentation, right? And so this is ultimately the decision and the debate that we had internally is like, do we actually believe we're going to come in here and win? Because I think the journey that Pudgy Penguins is on and that the Igloo company has ultimately built over the last 2.5 years, I think it's preordained. You see where we're going. We're succeeding in the verticals that we're pursuing, and the path to greatness there is ultimately really clear. I think at some point on that path, you're going to see bottlenecks in terms of us not being able to really optimize for the things that I think are most advantageous for consumer products. And I think nobody is really speaking to that one subsection of builders that is purely consumer. At the end of the day, you can deploy what you want on our chain. I'm open. We're opening our arms for people that are building DeFi products and other different categories within the industry. But we really think we can support and help builders building for consumer in a way that no other chain can. And so there's really like two fundamental principles behind why we decided to do this and not build on somebody else's stack. I think first and foremost is, again, I think you'd be hard pressed to find an L2 team that can speak and help builders find consumer product market fit the way that we can. And I think it's just a natural edge that we have, and ultimately a place that I think we can support the entire industry. And to be frank, like I have no interest in building on another chain than helping all the builders on that chain, find product market fit. There's just no alignment in that respect. On the other side of it, it just comes down to, mutually beneficial relationships and things that just make sense for the company. I think today crypto has entered a new era, which is less predicated on technical innovation and more predicated on the three pillars that I reference as community, culture, and distribution. These today are the X factors. I think if you understand the L2 landscape, you can actually spin up an L2 within 24 hours, believe it or not. It's not rocket science the way that it was maybe 2 years ago. And so what is the edge case here in an industry and a category that is becoming extremely productized? It's going to be the people that can bring community, culture, and distribution to that chain. And I think we can do that, one, with our native ecosystem and the ecosystem that we already built. But I also think we can, provide a huge helping hand for others to kind of build in that same cadence that we've built Pudgy. And so if you're just kind of looking at the landscape, I think, mutually beneficial relationships is a huge pillar of it. And being able to, have a huge exchange of value that makes sense. Right now, if I were to build on another tech stack, that exchange of value is not a fair exchange, in my opinion. I think if I were to build on an L2, I'm bringing hundreds of millions of dollars in value to that L2 over the course of time. And in exchange, they're giving me, maybe some grants, maybe some technical support, but I don't think that value exchange is quite fair, in my opinion. And on the other side of it, you have a opportunity to actually win something that I think is still open to be won. Right. And I think if we can win the race that is the L2 race, or at least be, one of the top 3 or 5 competitors in the space, which I think we're extremely confident that we can be, ultimately, I think that opens up the floodgates to our ecosystem and to our holders and to our greater community in a way that I think just wasn't prevalent before. You have to live in your reality. The reality is we are in a market that, has huge opportunity costs. And you have to provide a compelling narrative for your community and your ecosystem on how you're going to grow this thing to be, an end-to-end user experience and something that has tremendous value or future value over the course of time. And I think if you're just looking at all of the pain points that we had at Pudgy, from little tweaks on infrastructural woes that we would love to implement, to the growth of the ecosystem, to being able to leverage what we've been able to build over the last 2.5 years, I think this solves kind of all of the problems that we had in front of us, and also presents a huge slew of opportunities that I think currently wasn't present without this acquisition.
So you mentioned that the compelling narrative for Pudgies, and I think you've proven that in spades. What's the compelling narrative for builders to come build on Abstract? What's the sales pitch to get others to come build in this ecosystem?
Yeah, so I think over the next couple of months, you're going to see a couple things. I think one is this reworking of these incentive mechanisms that I think is just going to be better than anything we've seen out there. I think a second one is our ability to actually help users find product market fit and galvanize, people to use their applications in a way that I think is really unique. Our skill set, obviously, people have been able to see a subsection of it, of what we've been able to do at Pudgy. But, to be frank, there's been a little bit of a handicap because there's only so many things that you can do around an NFT and around an IP in terms of, how you actually go to market and attract people. Our team is actually built and comprised of a couple people that I think have done really amazing things in the Web2 world. And it's something that from my perspective, we have a finger on the pulse in terms of helping people find product market fit to mass market consumers, whether they're crypto curious or non-crypto native, in a way that I think is super competitive to the rest. And then ultimately, I think there's something to be said about, we have built a vertical integration in a way that I think is super unique to a majority of L2s. A majority of L2s have really only been building horizontally, meaning, the infrastructure layer for others to build on top of. But I think if you look at Pudgy Penguin's ecosystem, we've actually created, multiple examples within our journey of what you could build on top of these chains. And rather than just telling people to go build it themselves, we're also leading by example. And so, I think this gives us like a slew of edges across multiple different facets that I think creates a compelling case. When you're looking at what builders want above all else, they want users. And what do users want above all else? They want cool products for that they can use. And I think amongst our two teams and our expertise, I think we'll be able to cater to both of those needs pretty easily.
Do you have an idea for what kind of apps and products users can expect, or are we in the too early stages to start thinking through that? I'm just more like personally curious.
Yeah, again, it's all things consumer. And so I think consumer can be defined in a lot of different ways. I think actually NFTs are a great consumer mechanism. I wrote a whole Substack on culture coins and the tokenization of culture. And I'm a huge believer that whether it's a meme coin or an IP token or a consumer brand token, or however you want to phrase it in the subsection of categories under these culture tokens, I think we can be a huge support there. Obviously, consumer applications, whether they're financial applications or social networks, again, what do all of these things need? If you're an NFT, if you're a meme, you want to proliferate, you want eyeballs. I think we've shown to the world that we know how to do that with the best of them. If you're a consumer application, whether it's a new social network or a new financialized mechanism to maybe transact or to interact with certain consumer products, I think if it falls under the category of consumer crypto and is targeting towards not the couple thousand power users that we have today, but for the masses, I think we have a lot of really interesting insights and can support you in a really meaningful way. And so I think it's anything that can go outside of our ecosystem, outside of our bubble, that can reach regular people doing regular things. I think ultimately that's just the barrier that needs to be broken, and ultimately I think we're the team that's I think best positioned to help support builders break that barrier. So anything and everything consumer, and if we were to define that in one sentence, I think it would be products and applications that appeal to people outside of this small hyper financialized bubble in which we currently live.
So what's the timeline like? Obviously, not to make you like state things that you can't like here on live on air, though that would be cool. But what's the timeline like for Abstract? You just announced everything. You want these consumer crypto apps. Actually, obviously, like we're building consumer crypto app on our end, so it's like I'm obviously turbo bullish on that. I do think we have too much infrastructure and not enough apps. So you're building like the infrastructure for those apps, and then you're gonna push those apps. So I think it's pretty cool. Get the dog in. He wants to talk. He definitely wants to chime in. but I think that's great. So I'm super bullish on like the consumer crypto apps part, because I saw a tweet I think from Evans a few weeks ago. It was like we have too many layers now and too many people tripping infra, but we're missing this stuff, right? Obviously, big fan of what Polymarkets has done so far through the whole election cycle. Fan of Fantasy Top. We love playing the game on here. Hopefully, like they'll be able to continue the momentum now that the blast, airdrop has happened. Yada yada yada. And hopefully there's gonna be more to come. Obviously, a fan of Farcaster, Warpcast, like and what's gonna happen there. Blanks with Solana, like a lot of really cool shit is finally starting to come out. What's your timeline looking like to be able to push not the actual L2 itself, but like those apps out?
Yeah, I think I think it probably starts with the L2 itself. So testnet will be live. The tentative date right now is July 8th, so probably July 8th, 9th, or 10th. And this is really where I think the floodgates are going to begin to open, and where we really are going to start, getting builders to start building. And so, I think from our perspective, I think a huge part of building a chain is your chain is only as good as the applications built on top of it. And this is where we want to spend a majority of our time. One thing that I think we've shown over the last couple of years is we know how to hustle, and we also know how to build relationships. And so, really going out in the trench and getting, really down and dirty with a lot of these builders and just, one, convincing them that I think this is the right place to build, and making sure that they have the right support from a technical perspective, whether it's the right integrations and just the right infrastructure to kind of build on top of it. But this is a game of how many builders can you get to build on your chain, and how many good products can you get to build there. And we're actually looking to support and making a lot of these things easy. The beauty of some of the people on our team is, Peter owned a design agency for 5 years. We've kind of acqui-hired that design agency. And so they've kind of been brought in-house. He probably has, 30 different templates that he can give builders that can just immediately expedite the creative and interface and user experience process. It's not going to be as granular as, A plus B equals C. There's obviously going to be a lot of, going back and forth and getting in the weeds with people. But I think it really starts on the launch of testnet. So people can really actually start building on top of the infrastructure. Shortly after, we kind of plan on releasing mainnet after we've given people a couple of months to kind of build the right applications on testnet. But I can't control necessarily what other people build. But when I see cool things that people are building, it's our job and our responsibility to go in there and see how we can support them. Is that, go to market and strategy on how to get awareness in Web3 and crypto, which we know to do really well. Is that, how do you go outside of the bubble and create product market fit, and marketing strategies that are outside of just, Twitter marketing, which seems to be like the de facto market strategy for a majority of crypto applications. If you actually really understand our skill set and our expertise and what we know how to do, we're really multifaceted. And I think where we can be really competitive, versus I think a majority of the stacks that are out there today, is just our ability to go in there and be like, this should be called this should go here. I've seen this work, 5 different times, through these channels, and really opening up the floodgates of our resources, not only from what we have internally, but also through our relationships. Like I think I have, the best group of marketers in my corner that I've been able to build and build relationships with over the last 7 or 8 years. And it's really easy for me to hand off the best SEO guys or the best TikTok marketers, the best Instagrammers to a lot of these projects that are looking to build for audiences that live on those platforms.
That makes sense. And hearing it from you, I think helps answer the question of why someone would go towards abstract and build. And it's because I asked you for the sales pitch earlier, they're getting access to your marketing, they're getting access to your network, your distribution, and just like proven execution. And that is a real differentiator. I think that's basically an objective fact at this point in time. Luca, I had a list of questions coming into this, but I feel like there's been a bit of criticism kind of floating around crypto Twitter in the last day or so. I'd love to give you a chance to respond. I think one, with respect to Pudgies and the NFT ecosystem, I think when the earlier podcast that dropped, you mentioned Pudgies going to 200 ETH, other NFTs perhaps going to 100 ETH. I think that caught some criticism. I'm curious if you'd want to maybe elaborate on that, why you believe that. Of course, another part of this question is like, what does all this mean for Pudgies? I think that's the other core question here. What does abstract mean for the NFT holders?
Yeah, well, I think that quote got taken a little bit out of context. And so really the question was, where do you see NFTs going? And I said, look, I think if NFTs can catch 50% of what 2021 was like, and hopefully a lot more, I think they'll be bigger and better than they ever were in the past. I believe that because of the unlock of NFTFi and all of these liquidity mechanisms, that NFTs are going to have a lot more violent moves to the upside and to the downside that I think will ultimately take them to, heights that we've never seen before. And I said there will be a couple projects that I think will reach 200 ETH. And if I were to make a bet, I would obviously bet on myself. And I think anybody making such a statement and wouldn't bet on themselves around a statement like that, I think is probably not the right leader to be leading the charge. Project like this. So I obviously wasn't being, braggadocious and trying to be like, hey, we're going to do this. But I'm basically saying that if NFTs catch a semblance of a bid the way that it did in 2021, these unlocks of calls and shorts and leverage, if you just understand the way that a lot of these markets work, that's why a Binance listing is so exciting because, are you potentially on Binance perps and people know what that means and the liquidity that unlocks. And all of a sudden, to move the market cap, $5 billion, you don't need, $500 million in buy pressure, or, in straight spot. You can, do that with, 50 million or 100 million in leverage trades. And if you just understand just the way that crypto works as well as traditional finance, a lot of these huge moves are really predicated on leverage and margin. And a lot of this liquidity is kind of attributed to that. And so I think what NFTs have today, what they didn't have in 2021, is a lot of these liquidity provisions that I think make these things a lot more exciting. The ability to short something, the ability to long something is going to add so much more hype and I think volatility to a lot of these assets. And so, that's essentially what I was saying. So I just wanted to clear that up because I think the context kind of got removed. Obviously, I have every ambition to be the #1 NFT project in the world. I've been pretty clear on that for a long time. Where the cards fall over the course of time is really up to the universe. All we can do is really execute and put our best foot forward. But I believe we're really well positioned to be leading the charge in that respect. And when NFTs come back in a meaningful way, I think these liquidity provisions that weren't available in 2021 are going to add a lot more volatility to the upside and to the downside to these NFTs in a way that we've never seen before. And I think that's just an educated statement. I don't think that's like too far from like crazy land. If you look at, characters in crypto, you have Doge that's worth 15 billion, you have Pepe that's worth 6 billion, Shiba Inu that's worth 10. You have a lot of these character brands within the NFT market, Pudgies, My Lady. If you look at those are worth, 150, 200, 250, 300 million. But I would argue their awareness and their impact within crypto culture is arguably just as significant as the latter. But the difference is those are, NFTs, and they are, kind of condensed within this NFT market. And the others are liquid tokens. And that's just the only difference. It's not that I think, we are getting less awareness than them or having less impact on culture. I think it's just the mechanism in which our assets kind of live and breathe. And so I think it's not as crazy to say as I think people initially think. What does abstract really mean for the ecosystem? I think it gives us a really unique opportunity to, one of the things that I've loved about the Pudgy ecosystem specifically is we've had so many builders. So now we have a home for these builders to build if they choose to go in our direction. We have a unique slew of opportunities that I think abstract will kind of open up for the Pudgy Penguin ecosystem. I think we saw this over the last 6 months in terms of protocols benefiting, or airdropping to penguins. I think you could see a similar behavior within the ecosystem itself. And from a leadership perspective, it's important to note that I'm not the CEO of Abstract. I don't think you'd want me to be. I am still the CEO of Pudgy. I'm leading the charge here. We are continuing to do what we need to do to push NFTs and IP on chain forward. I think that one we'll never lose focus of that. This is not us pivoting to a new venture. The team is really staying the same over at Pudgy. And this is ultimately why I think the acquisition made so much sense. It was just as much an acqui-hire as it was anything else. We're bringing an elite team that knows how to build things on chain with the best of them. And not only Frame, there's a slew of other people. You guys will meet Michael here shortly, but Michael Lee's kind of running Cube Labs, which is the main contributor to Abstract. He's a complete Chad, one of the people that I've learned so much from over the last couple of months. And so this is very much a symbiotic relationship between the two organizations. I think they will cross-pollinate and help each other in a meaningful way. And ultimately, I just think it makes the entire ecosystem significantly more appealing for new entrants, as well as for current holders of the ecosystem.
Would agree. You actually touched on a topic I want to dive in on a little bit. So you mentioned you're not the CEO of Abstract. I'm curious. So who is it being led by like a council? I'm also very curious, like what Saigar and the previously framed team's role in all this is, because the other criticism that I wanted to address, and I feel like we're going there, people have said you're not the most tech savvy. I feel like it was obvious that when you hired Frame and some of the best builders in the space, like that's how you were answering the question, but apparently it wasn't obvious to everyone.
Yeah, I mean,
that is such a stupid criticism. Like, yes, I don't know shit about tech. Doesn't mean I'm not the one building it. That's why you have a CEO and CPO.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, look, I'm definitely not the most tech savvy. Now, I don't think I'm as deficient as I think people think. I was mining in 2016, so I have some sort of finger on the pulse. Sorry, I was just getting my computer charger. here because my computer's about to die. So I don't think I'm like completely deficient, but I can speak objectively. Like, look, I know where I'm strong. I know where I'm weak. You know, to be frank, I don't think you want me leading the technical build of a blockchain, and I sit in my truth. I think it's really important for me not to get like really. I think the second I start living outside of my truth is the second that things are going to get pretty shaky, and so just understanding what I'm good at and understanding what I'm bad at is really important. And this is ultimately why the Frame acquisition took place and why we didn't just go make our own blockchain. I mean, we could have done this, a long time ago, and it probably would have been, an interesting anchor for us. Timing probably could have been better with things with our NFTs and all the craziness that happened over the last, year. But to be frank, it's not about, just doing something just to do something. It's about doing something to succeed at it. And I think this is why these two pieces ultimately make sense. Abstract is being contributed to by, obviously members of the Pudgy Penguin team. Cube Labs is the main development company that's working on Abstract, and that's ultimately where the Frame team is now living and coinciding. Those guys are being led by a guy named Michael Lee, who you guys will meet here shortly. And they're leading the charge on all things development around Abstract and making sure that it has all the nuts and bolts to compete with everything that's existing out there. And then we're coming in and adding a slew of competitive edges that I think will make us a really exciting contender within the L2 space. And so that's kind of how it's structured and organized today. And over the course of the coming weeks and months, you guys will meet the full team and see the full integrations of technical things that we're kind of implementing and where we're actually going to compete and differentiate ourselves outside of just, go to market and community and culture, even though those I think are the most important things. We've also got some really exciting mechanisms that will be unveiled here shortly.
Well, love to hear it. I want to be conscious of your time, Luca. I know we had you for half an hour. Just maybe final question. What's coming next? Like what can people expect? And like, if you have any other closing thoughts you want to leave the listeners with?
Yeah, I'm super excited. I think this sprint is really just beginning. We don't really just tend to announce things and go 0 dark 30 shortly after. So if you're keen to learn more about Abstract, just stay tuned, follow the accounts, put notifications on. Updates will be coming, and they'll be coming sooner than I think most people think. And if you're a builder looking to build for the consumer crypto revolution, whether it's NFTs, whether it's IP or meme coins or consumer applications, if you want to build things that are going to attract consumers and speak to them, I think we're the chain that's best positioned to help you achieve that. So, feel free to reach out to me. I'm really keen to speaking to everybody and seeing what kind of features, people want implemented. I think our unique position today is actually a second mover advantage. I think will be an edge here. We have a lot of insights as to what's already happened, what people have done in the past, and ultimately we have a good look and foresight as to what's going to succeed in the future. So happy to get a lot of feedback, got a lot of hustle here coming. ETHCC, so Faroka, hopefully I'll see you there. And hopefully that will be the first crack at meeting and getting to know a lot of these builders that will be building on top of Abstract shortly. So Tyler, Farouk, I appreciate the time as always. Tyler, you're doing an amazing job with these daily recaps. I actually wake up every morning. I look forward to them. They're the most comprehensive recaps every morning. So I encourage everyone to give you a follow. And Farouk, it's a pleasure as always. I'll give you credit where credit is due, dude. You supported us when very few people did. And I remember the day that you started to buy Pudgies and you reached out. It was a really important day for me because you were one of the few that came and showed us love before everyone else did. So you'll always have my respect, and I'm here to support you. And I got a couple things that I need to go get you. I've kind of dropped the ball there over the last week. Hopefully get back to you with something.
Tap in, baby. Tap in. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a fun time for the ecosystem. There's a lot of really cool builders I'm aware of that are really going full force. I think Q3, Q4 are going to be built very big for the ecosystem, NFT space, etc. From yourself, what you guys going on ourselves, and obviously rumors of what's going on with Doodles and a bunch of other people. So I think we're in for a good rest of the year here. Thank you, Luca, for coming as usual and chat soon.
Thank you
so much.
Bye, guys.
All right. Well, that was great. I thought that was a really, really good conversation, Tyler. Some good takeaways. I find I always laugh at the criticism part, because people are so quick to make funny comments and remarks and criticize. But I think he's got a good head on his shoulders, so it'll be good.
The sales pitch is compelling. There's a lot of places you can build. There's not a whole lot of places you can get access to Luca's network marketing, distribution, connections, and just a proven track record. So I get it. Now I think the question is, like, we love the idea and concepts. We're gonna have to see the execution. So that's going to come in the weeks and months to follow. But certainly an exciting setup here.
I love it. All right. Well, Mr. Tyler, it was a pleasure. Feels good to be back. The French team is playing in an hour. I can't wait. We're playing Belgium. I think Luca's from Belgium originally. But listen, sorry about that. So I'm gonna go and get mentally ready for that for the rest of my call. Catch up with everything. With that, Rollbit returns tomorrow. Whoop! Big spins tomorrow. We still have a park to give away. You'll see. We're gonna hit it. And so make sure you follow us, follow them, and tune in tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for another episode of Fomo Hour on Rug Radio. Let's go.